Yes, this is one of the exciting event. What you will do with all this money you got? You better
Right?
hear from your brother.
And if you can find a way to incentivize people can feel like there's a business around the solution. They're more inclined to get involved because there's a direct effect on their bottom line. And I hate to say that that's what it is, but honestly, that's what we saw at our festival was that I made it all about money. And what was beautiful is a week before, we're going back to the festival again, a week out before the festival actually took place, people started to say, you know what, man, we're happy these Fortune 500 companies are coming in here, we're happy about all these other things, but look at this love, look at this harmony. I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia. And they look one way, but I can tell you as an African American growing up there, it felt a different way. And to see everybody just, holding hands, helping each other, and being very excited that we now had this new thrust of attention in the form of tourism. But people coming and being excited about our place, I can tell you, we had to incentivize.
And that's really all it is. Do you find the thing engaging? If you do, then it's easy to get people engaged in it, and it's just how you tell those stories. And so what Pharrell was saying is, that storytelling becomes important. I completely agree with what you're saying about incentivizing people, and I actually don't think it's a bad thing. I think a lot of people in this room, you either own companies or you work in companies, and something I always find interesting about companies is that companies are really good at being aggressive at shifting leaders when it comes to policies that will affect their business and the core bottom line, but when it comes to philanthropy, they're a lot more tame. Businesses will be a lot more shy about it and be like, oh, well, we can't force them to help, young girls with menstrual hygiene. We can't really pressure this government to do that. But corporations are really good at pressuring governments when it's going to help their bottom line directly. How are you going to change tariffs? How are you going to change, laws in and around the product that you're selling? Corporations are very strong in that regard. And I think a lot of companies that are looking at philanthropy need to use that same aggression that they use with just their products as they do with their philanthropy and say, hey, we won't invest in your nation if you do not implement some of these goals. We want to be part of a nation that is pushing young women forward. We want to be part of a nation that is working to get rid of certain levels of corruption. We want to be part of that because as Pharrell says, if you incentivize it in that way, you will find an action that comes from that. Until you take the dollar away, people do not have an incentive to keep that dollar. And so that's always what I'm trying to do is just tell, how do you tell the story? How do you engage people in that story? And if you engage them in the right way, you find that then everybody becomes interested. It's no longer an us or a them. And financially, just to finish it off to what Pharrell was saying, is that's something I've realized about the world. Is take it. You look at it on a large level. People always ask me, how do we get rid of racism? How do we get rid of sexism? How do we get rid of xenophobia? I think sometimes that's such a giant issue that it's unsolvable and undoable in a way. But one thing we have realized is there are many issues that people have within them that they keep, right? Your biases, whether it's gender, whether it's race, no matter what it is, you have it inside of you. Those things tend to flare up when you are economically unstable. And so I don't know that we can fix every human being in the world, but I do think we can diminish their chances for their racist herpes to flare up. And so when I look at those moments and I look at those,
it's the first time that word is ever uttered in the United Nations.
I'm glad. And I think sometimes what we do is we try and separate the one from the other. We go, let's work on these things, but at the same time, how do we get people to love each other? And I go, it's a lot easier to get people to start talking about loving each other when they have food in their bellies. And you can distill it down to human beings. See how hard it is to be in your relationship when one of you is hungry. All of a sudden things break down between yourself, your wife, your husband, your children, whoever. When hunger is in the mix, all of a sudden people become very different human beings. And this is just in your house. You will fight with your child in a way you've never fought with them when they are hungry. You will fight with your spouse in a way you've never fought with them when you are hungry. And so if people are hungry around the world, it's very difficult to get them to start talking about gender equality, etc., because we don't focus on just what's going on in the belly. And so for me, that's why I love what Pharrell was saying is, let's get into those spaces, let's make it a business, let's get people incentivized, you get the money generated, then you can start talking to people about lofty goals and ambitions, And I think that's where corporations really can take a stronger stand and say, hey, we're going to put that pressure on you.
We have